Do you think you can just stroll in here like you belong?" The words sliced through the gilded silence of the Regency Crown Hotel lobby like a knife. The chandelier light shimmered against marble floors, and all around, guests froze mid-step. The speaker was Linda Harrington, the 45-year-old hotel manager whose voice always carried the sharpness of someone eager to remind others who was in charge. Her manicured hand clutched the handle of a Louis Vuitton suitcase, one that didn't even belong to her. It belonged to Naomi Campbellson, a black woman in her late 30s, dressed with understated elegance, tailored navy slacks, a cream silk blouse, and polished leather shoes. Her calm composure clashed violently with the insult being hurled at her. "This is a 5-star establishment," Linda sneered, her tone dripping with hostility as she yanked on Naomi's bag. "We don't entertain wanderers." A hush fell over the lobby. Wealthy travelers with cocktails in hand stared. Families paused mid-check-in. Even the pianist in the corner faltered on the keys. Naomi, still clutching the handle of her suitcase, looked Linda directly in the eye. Her voice, steady and low, carried more power than a scream ever could. "Let go of my luggage," she said. "You're profiling me because I'm black." Those words cracked open the room's atmosphere like thunder. Gasps echoed. Linda's face flushed crimson, her jaw tightening. "Don't you dare play that card with me," Linda snapped, her grip tightening on the suitcase. And then, in an act so brazen it stunned everyone watching, she snatched her glass of red wine from the front desk and poured it in one swift motion over Naomi's blouse. The burgundy liquid streamed down Naomi's front, staining her cream silk top and dripping onto the pristine marble. The elegance of her attire dissolved into ruin within seconds. "There!" Linda declared triumphantly, slamming the empty glass back onto the counter. "Now get out of my hotel before I have you arrested for trespassing." The crowd's shocked silence was thick enough to choke on. A child whimpered, guests whispered furiously, phones started rising, cameras recording what felt like an impossible scene in a place built on luxury and hospitality. But Naomi didn't flinch. She simply reached into her damp handbag, pulled out a handkerchief, and calmly dabbed the wine from her skin. Then, with an icy composure that should have terrified Linda into silence, she spoke words that hung in the air like an executioner's blade. "You have no idea who I am," Naomi said softly, "and you've just made the worst mistake of your career." The crowd leaned in. The tension was unbearable, because what Linda didn't know, what nobody in that lobby knew, was that Naomi Campbellson was not just a guest. She was the secret owner of the entire Regency Crown chain. And in less than an hour, Linda's life was about to collapse in front of everyone. Naomi didn't shout. She didn't curse. She simply stood there with a dignity that burned hotter than Linda's rage. To the average eye, she looked like any other professional woman traveling alone. No entourage, no flashy jewelry, no designer logo screaming for attention. But that was deliberate. Naomi had built her empire on blending in, on observing unnoticed. Because Naomi Campbellson wasn't just any hotel guest. She was the majority shareholder and co-founder of the entire Regency Crown Group, a chain of luxury hotels spanning 5 continents. Her late father had been one of the pioneers in hospitality, and Naomi, armed with 2 Ivy League degrees and a lifetime of mentorship, had expanded his legacy into an empire. Yet she preferred to travel quietly. No PR announcements, no special treatment when she inspected her hotels. She wanted to see how her staff truly behaved when they didn't know the boss was watching. And tonight, she had just witnessed the rot at the very heart of her crown jewel property. Across the lobby, behind the polished mahogany reception desk, a young man named Miguel Santos gripped his notepad so tightly his knuckles turned white. Miguel was a concierge trainee, barely 23, still learning the art of luxury service. He'd been raised by immigrant parents who scrubbed floors in hotels like this one, and he knew injustice when he saw it. His stomach churned as Linda poured that glass of wine on Naomi's blouse. He wanted to intervene, but fear froze him. Linda Harrington wasn't just the manager, she was a tyrant. Everyone on staff knew her reputation. Ambitious, cruel, obsessed with appearances. She'd built her career on charm with upper management, but behind the scenes, she barked orders, belittled staff, and played favorites with wealthy guests who flaunted their privilege. Linda had been gunning for a regional director position for years, but rejection after rejection had hardened her. She blamed her failures on others, unfair quotas, office politics, or simply that she was too good for people to handle. But deep down, her insecurity festered. She despised anyone who didn't look the part of luxury. And now, in her eyes, Naomi was the perfect target. A black woman with a simple suitcase and no ostentatious display of wealth. Linda's prejudice saw only what it wanted to see. Someone beneath the Regency crown. Miguel noticed the other guests whispering. Phones were out. This wasn't just a quiet altercation anymore. It was going viral in real time. He glanced at security officer Ethan Blake, a broad-shouldered ex-military man stationed near the doors. Ethan's jaw tightened as he watched Linda's outburst, but he stayed put. Protocol was strict. The manager's word was final. Naomi, still perfectly calm, folded her stained handkerchief and placed it neatly into her handbag. She looked at Linda, who was basking in her own performance, convinced she had humiliated an undesirable intruder. "You've made a scene," Naomi said evenly. "And soon you'll understand the cost." Linda laughed. Loud, theatrical, cruel. "The cost, please. The only cost here is the dry cleaning bill you can't afford. Now take your bag and leave before I call the police." A murmur of discomfort swept through the lobby. Even the pianist stopped pretending to play. Miguel's heart pounded. He wanted to scream, "Don't you know who she is?" But Naomi hadn't revealed it yet, and something in her eyes told him she didn't want anyone to spoil the moment. Because Naomi wasn't just going to expose Linda, she was going to let Linda bury herself step by arrogant step, and the burial had only just begun. "Ethan!" Linda snapped her fingers like a queen summoning a servant. The sound echoed under the chandelier. "Escort this woman out. She's disturbing the peace." All eyes turned to Ethan Blake, the stoic security officer. His posture was rigid, his jawline sharp, but his eyes betrayed hesitation. He'd seen drunk billionaires start brawls in the lobby. He'd broken up football stars, trashing hotel bars. Never once had Linda reacted like this over someone quietly checking in with a suitcase. Ethan stepped forward, his hand hovering near Naomi's arm, careful, not yet forceful. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to ask you—" Naomi raised one hand, just a gesture, not frantic, not desperate, a calm, deliberate signal that froze him mid-sentence. "I would advise you," she said, her voice steady as marble, "to think very carefully about your next move." The lobby went pin-drop silent. Guests leaned in, phones recording every second, but Linda, intoxicated by the power of the spotlight, too blind to see the trap she was walking into, pressed harder. "Think carefully? Oh, please!" Linda scoffed. She turned toward the crowd, gesturing at Naomi like she was putting on a show. "This woman doesn't belong here. She probably wandered in to steal something. Look at her. Plain clothes, no reservation, no class." She snapped her fingers again. "Ethan, check her bag. She's hiding something." Gasps. Actual gasps. The audacity of it rang through the lobby. Miguel felt his stomach twist. He had seen Naomi roll her suitcase in. He had seen her approach the desk with a reservation confirmation in hand. And now Linda was ordering a bag search in front of dozens of strangers, treating Naomi like a criminal. Ethan hesitated. "Ms. Harrington, protocol doesn't allow—" "Protocol?" Linda cut him off sharply. "I am protocol. Do as I say." Naomi's eyes flicked to Miguel, not accusing, not pleading, just watching, as if silently testing whether he would speak up. Miguel's palms sweated. His throat went dry. He wanted to shout, "She has a reservation." But fear anchored him to the floor. One wrong word, and his career in hospitality, his family's pride, could be destroyed. Ethan reluctantly crouched by Naomi's suitcase, his thick fingers unzipping the leather. The crowd leaned closer, recording, whispering. The humiliation was unbearable. A professional woman, publicly searched like a common thief. Linda smirked, reveling in it. "Yes, open it. Let's show everyone what kind of trash tries to sneak into a five-star property." The zipper opened. Ethan reached inside. And then he froze. Inside was a neatly folded Regency Crown employee binder, the kind issued only to corporate executives. On top of it, in pristine leather casing, sat a platinum-edged access card with Naomi's full name embossed in gold. Ethan's brows shot up. He looked from the card to Naomi, to Linda. "What's wrong?" Linda demanded impatiently. "What did you find? Drugs? Stolen linens? Show everyone." Slowly, Ethan stood. He held up the access card. His voice was measured, uncertain. "This is a corporate owner's pass." The room buzzed like a hive. Guests whispered furiously. Cameras zoomed in. Naomi tilted her head ever so slightly, her calm demeanor unbroken. "You were saying, Miss Harrington?" For the first time that evening, Linda's mask cracked, a flicker of doubt. Her lips parted, but no words came. Miguel swallowed hard, his conscience burning. He could no longer stay silent. He took a bold step forward, his voice trembling but clear. "Manager Harrington, I saw her check-in documents earlier. She does have a reservation. You never even let her present it." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Someone muttered, "Unbelievable." Another hissed, "Racist." Naomi, still calm, dabbed the last of the wine from her blouse. She wasn't rushing, she wasn't flustered. She was letting every second of Linda's disgrace sink in, sear into the cameras, etch itself permanently in the memory of every witness. And the worst part? Linda still didn't know the full truth. She thought Naomi was maybe an executive at best. She had no idea she was humiliating the owner of the entire hotel empire, and Naomi wasn't done letting her dig the hole. Linda's lips twitched as she stared at the platinum-edged access card in Ethan's hand. Her mind raced. If this woman really had corporate-level clearance, her own career wasn't just at risk. It was over. But Linda Harrington had never been the type to admit fault. Pride was her armor, denial her weapon. She plastered on a brittle smile, her voice rising unnaturally loud to drown out the whispers. "Of course she has a corporate pass," Linda sneered. "Anyone can buy those online. They're fake, scams. Con artists use them all the time." The crowd gasped. A man in a tailored suit muttered, "Is she serious?" A woman holding a Chanel clutch whispered, "That's not how corporate security cards work." Phones kept recording, catching every word, every flicker of panic in Linda's expression. Naomi tilted her head slightly, studying Linda like a professor watching a student fail an exam. Her silence was more devastating than any outburst. Miguel felt his chest tightening. This wasn't just cruelty anymore. It was dangerous. The longer Linda dug in, the worse the explosion would be when the truth came out. He stepped forward, his voice firmer than before. "Manager Harrington," Miguel said, choosing his words carefully, "those passes aren't sold online. Only top executives receive them. She's clearly an important guest. Maybe we should—" Linda whirled on him, eyes blazing. "Shut your mouth, Santos. You're a trainee. You don't know a thing about luxury clientele." Miguel flinched, his face flushing, but he stood his ground. "I know respect when I see it, and I know disrespect." The lobby erupted in murmurs again. Some guests began clapping softly, others nodding at Miguel's courage. Linda's face burned crimson. She hadn't just lost control of the narrative, she was losing control of her audience. Ethan cleared his throat, his voice low but firm. "Miss Harrington, I don't think we should escalate this further. The evidence is clear." Linda snapped at him too. Your security. You take orders. Do your job. Naomi finally spoke, her voice soft, but carrying through the entire marble hall. This is your final chance, Ms. Harrington. Apologize. The word hung in the air like a judge's gavel. Linda laughed, high-pitched, forced, desperate. Apologize to her, to some nobody who thinks she can walk in here and act superior. No, she should be apologizing to me for wasting everyone's time. The crowd turned on her. Audible boos now. One guest shouted, "She deserves better than this." Another yelled, "You're going viral right now, lady." Linda faltered, her eyes darting nervously to the sea of cameras pointed her way, but her pride still chained her tongue. "Everyone calm down. I am the manager of this hotel. My word is final." Naomi slowly straightened, brushing the last traces of wine from her blouse. Her gaze swept across the guests, the staff, the cameras. Then she looked back at Linda with the calm, devastating certainty of someone who held all the cards. "You are not the manager of my hotel," Naomi said. The lobby went silent. Even the air seemed to freeze. Linda blinked. "What? What did you just say?" Naomi's lips curved into the faintest smile. "You've spent the last 20 minutes humiliating me, slandering me, and trying to have me dragged out in front of your staff and your guests. And all the while, you never once asked my name." She reached into her handbag, pulled out a sleek black wallet, and placed an embossed card on the counter. The letters gleamed in gold. Naomi Campbellson, founder and majority owner, Regency Crown Group. The card was unmistakable. The logo, the signature, the corporate seal, undeniable proof. Phones zoomed in. Gasps rippled through the lobby. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Another muttered, "She owns the place." Linda staggered back a step, her mouth opening and closing like a fish, gasping for air, her face drained of color. She looked around wildly, as if someone might swoop in and rescue her, but no one moved. Not Ethan, not Miguel, not the guests. She was utterly alone. Naomi leaned forward, her voice a whisper, but sharp as a blade. "And now, Miss Harrington, we will discuss your future." The lobby was so quiet you could hear the faint hum of the chandelier lights. Linda's hands shook as her carefully curated facade crumbled. All her years of clawing for power, of lording her authority over others, now meant nothing. Naomi's eyes didn't waver. She didn't need to shout. Her authority radiated from every syllable. "Effective immediately," she said. "You are relieved of your duties as manager of this property." Linda's jaw dropped. You can't do that." Naomi's lips curved into a razor-thin smile. "I can, and I just did. Security?" Ethan didn't hesitate. For weeks, he had swallowed his frustration under Linda's toxic leadership. Now, at last, he stood taller. "Yes, Ms. Campbellson." He stepped forward, positioning himself between Naomi and Linda. His voice was steady, almost relieved. "Miss Harrington, please hand over your keys and badge." Linda's hands trembled as she fumbled for her lanyard. Desperation filled her voice. "Wait, Naomi, listen. I didn't know if I had known who you were." Naomi cut her off sharply. "That's the problem. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with dignity. Respect is not selective. It is not conditional. And you have shown me exactly what kind of leader you are." The guests applauded, not rowdy but deliberate, righteous. The sound echoed through the marble lobby. Linda's face twisted in humiliation. She tried to appeal to the crowd. "She's exaggerating. I was protecting the hotel. She looked suspicious." The crowd booed. Phones caught everything. The narrative was no longer hers to spin. Ethan escorted her toward the staff doors, her protests growing weaker with each step. By the time they disappeared into the back hall, Linda Harrington was no longer a manager, just another cautionary tale. Silence returned, broken only when Naomi turned to Miguel. The young trainee froze, his heart pounding. She regarded him for a long moment, then nodded. "You spoke up when it mattered," she said. Miguel swallowed hard. I almost didn't. I was afraid. Naomi's expression softened. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing integrity despite fear. She glanced around the lobby, ensuring every staff member could hear her next words. This hotel chain was built on hospitality, on the belief that every guest, no matter their wealth, race, or status, deserves to feel valued. Tonight, I saw who honored that belief and who betrayed it. Her gaze landed on Miguel again. "What's your name?" "Me, Miguel Santos, ma'am." "Well, Mr. Santos," Naomi said, her voice carrying to every corner of the lobby, "from this moment forward, you are promoted to assistant front desk manager. Report directly to me." Gasps erupted. Miguel's jaw dropped. Thank you, Ms. Campbellson. I won't let you down." "I know you won't," Naomi replied simply. The pianist, sensing the tension had broken, softly resumed playing. Guests put away their phones, some even approaching Naomi with words of respect and admiration. The atmosphere shifted from hostility to reverence. Naomi gathered her belongings, adjusting her blouse as though nothing had happened. Before heading to the elevators, she turned once more to the lobby, to the staff, the guests, the lingering weight of the night's events. "Let this be remembered," she said. "Power is not a license to humiliate. Authority is not a weapon to discriminate. True leadership is measured in how you treat those you think cannot harm you, because one day they may be the ones who decide your fate." Her words hung in the air long after she entered the elevator and the doors slid shut. Moral lesson: discrimination is more than ignorance. It is blindness. It blinds people to character, to truth, and to their own humanity. Linda Harrington's downfall came not because Naomi revealed her power, but because Linda revealed her prejudice. Naomi's restraint proved a timeless truth. Respect is owed to everyone, not just the powerful. Miguel's courage reminded us that even the smallest voice can turn the tide when spoken at the right moment.